Yeah, and guess now we are live, but I will share the link with Pretty so she can post it. Yeah, actually, Christian, you had vacation this week or also today?
Yes.
Yes. So, how was your vacation?
It was fine. Yeah, the lockdown was quite present everywhere, so there was not that much to do, but yeah, we enjoyed the time. I took time with my family, and yes, today we went to the zoo of Chemnitz.
As long as it's still open.
No, it's open, but you need to be tested negative. Yeah. So yesterday we were on a public test station and tried it, how it works and how everything how everything is made there. And yeah, we were for quick testing. It was really no problem. You just go there, get some sticked in your mouth, and then after 20 minutes you get an email that you are negative.
I mean, I also did a couple of tests already, and usually through the mouth, which wasn't an issue for me. But once I also did it through the nose, and this was quite, I don't know, quite not so pleasant. My eye was kind of flickering when they were shoving it deeper into my nose.
Okay.
Was interesting, but through the mouth was pretty good or pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, maybe important to mention that we are here in the beginning of April 2021 in Germany. So the situation is kind of, how should I say it? It's already or still in the lockdown phase. So
yes,
probably nothing / not much has opened. So that is the current situation. Vaccine rollout is slow to normal, I would say, or how would you say it?
Suboptimal.
Starting to get traction, so to say. So I think the next weeks they will make it more publicly available. They start giving it out on private doctors already. So I think.
Yeah, that's the same that I hear here. Yesterday I had a conversation with a doctor who got 400 vaccines yesterday to put into the arms, and I guess everything went well. Yeah, and I just want to share a personal story yesterday, because this was some kind of crazy. When I was finishing my work, I came home and I got a long floor, and on the darker corner of it, I have a big watch from my grandfather, just such an old watch, and there's actually no window. And on the top left corner there was a dark piece, and I didn't realize what is this. And then after some further investigations, getting closer to it, I saw that it was a bat. So little mouse sitting there, like just on the wall, and I was kind of oh my god,
scared.
What is this?
Okay.
So then we watched the bat just sitting. Was kind of cute. And then my brother is here with me these days, and we just took a short Google search and saw, okay, bats could have what we call in Germany Tollwut, I guess, in
rabies.
Rabies, yeah, actually. So it's kind of dangerous to put them out. And I was always talking to my brother, oh, just put them out. And my brother, oh no, it's so cute, just leave it inside. But yeah, then she was like a little bit flying around and walking on the floor. But we actually put her on such a thing with big hand shoes, gloves, and then set her out of the window. So it was kind of crazy experience. I never saw a bat this close. So and she was really, I don't know if she was kind of shocked because she saw humans and there was light. So she was just like hanging and looking around what's going on. Yeah.
But the crazy thing is how did she get there in the first place? Do you sleep with open windows?
This is kind of what I also do not understand. I mean, there's a door which is open to the roof, but the windows are actually closed. I'm not sure how this one came inside. Maybe she came inside in the half a year ago, so prior to the window, and was living in somewhere. I don't know.
Maybe she's living off your blood for a couple of years already.
Hopefully not. Yeah, but and I read a little bit. They do also like winter sleep, so they are like, I don't know, quarter of the year during the winter they are sleeping either in the trees or in near houses or whatever. And so maybe she was also like in a half winter sleep mode, so that's why she was not really active and flying around and kind of in a creepy mood, or I don't know. Yeah. But let's took over to the session. I have prepared, of course, everything, and I guess you are ready, and I can start with the introduction or anything prior to share from your side. Okay.
No, we can't keep up with your crazy stories.
Batman story.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, I also never saw any that so close. So hi everybody, and welcome to the ISP Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Thorsten Schmidt. I'm glad to have Christian and Ole with me in the show. And today we will talk about NMS Prime version 3.00, which is a really big and major release, and will be a very interesting podcast to listen to both of you. But prior to this, I'm today in some kind double role, since I'm the founder of the project and the host, but I will keep my best to stay neutral here and interview you. So Ole, you are the CTO of the project, and Christian is one of our early developers, one of our core developers who has done a lot of work inside the framework. But Ole, for all the listeners who do not know you, who are you?
All right, thanks, Thorsten, for the introduction. So my name is Ole Ernst. As Thorsten already said, I'm the CTO as of last year. I've been a developer since 4.5 years at NMS Prime here. And besides this, once a week, I'm also at the University of Chemnitz, Technical University that is. And so I do some lectures there. And so I try to introduce the new students to networking and make them burn for the topic. And the brightest of them, I'll try, of course, to win for our company. And so we currently actually also have a cooperation with the university. We currently have a PhD student right now working on one of our topics, which is proactive outage detection using AI. And so this has just been started, and we're looking forward to the progress.
Mm-hmm. So maybe, Ole, you mentioned the city Chemnitz. For all the listeners who do not know Chemnitz, maybe our American guys here, where is it, and what is important to know about Chemnitz?
So we are located in Saxony, which we are the third biggest city in Saxony. Saxony is around about like 2.5 hours away from Berlin. It's south of Berlin. It's near to the Czech border. Chemnitz is around about 250,000-260,000 inhabitants. So we do have a university, as I said, we are quite close to it with our company headquarters, so to say. And as of lately, it feels to me that also the startup scene is rising quite well. We have Stuffbase, for example, and they just merged with Banana Tech, another company in the US, and they also just raised a new VC round. So it feels slowly but steadily that we are actually getting out of this, as a third biggest city in Saxony, we're kind of always only the third winner, and we don't really have such a well, when it comes to for example, the train network is not really very well connected in Chemnitz. And so maybe with this and the growing startup scene now, it feels that we are going slowly but steadily in the right into the right direction.
Yeah, and there's also a big, I totally agree to this. And there's also a big event coming in, 4 years to Chemnitz, which is actually the European capital of culture. I'm not quite sure if this is the correct translation, but this will be also something where the city gains a lot of visitors and traction. And I've also noticed in the background between the city and different companies that they are preparing better IT infrastructure in many aspects. 5G or whatsoever will be a big part here. So I guess the combination of, like you said, the startup scene and so on will bring a lot of stuff to the table. And actually, you mentioned Staffbase. With their last round of financing, they are close to be a unicorn. So this is definitely great. I guess it's not the first one in Chemnitz. I've been in discussions here, but this is the last one, so to speak, who got this big round of financing and are growing so fast. Yeah, Christian, from your side, we introduce, or you are one of the core developers of our team. I'm really happy you have done a great job here. So for all the listeners who do not know you, Christian, who are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Christian. I'm one of the core developers, as already introduced. I do a lot of stuff for the look and feel of the NMS Prime framework, and I also attended the university here in Chemnitz and got in contact through our professorship with NMS Prime. And since 2014, I think I'm working together with NMS Prime, and lately also in machine learning and proactive network maintenance topic. And I also written my master thesis in this field and try to support the company in this field as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. And I like to add that you are also doing a lot of work in the background of NMS Prime, so not just look and feel. So there's also a lot of core topics where you have your fingers on it. Yes. So really important work that you are doing. But let's jump to our major topic. I introduced that version 3.00. I guess we released it 2 or 3 weeks ago. Is probably one of our biggest releases here. We have prepared some numbers which I would like to start with. So it's actually more than 7,000 commits, which are between the last version, which was version 2.5.4. Actually, close to 800 files have been changed, 70,000 insertions, and 10,000 deletions. So a lot of changes in the project. And it was a very huge and important step, the release version 3.00. And maybe my first question is, you have been in back and forth discussion about how we should name it. So there was like, should it be 2.6 or 3.0? Who wins and why?
Yeah. There was first, the project working name was 2.6, but we quickly decided while working on it that 3.0 is more fitting, as we are moving to an open core infrastructure, and there were backwards compatibility issues, and so we decided for 3.0, as well as the AP changed, and a lot of core functionalities. We updated the framework, we updated PHP version, so a lot of things got updated, and all of the sum of all of these changes led us to say, okay, we want to make the big jump to 3.0 this time.
Mm-hmm. Ole, anything to add here?
No, I'm actually, the 2.6 was my we started with this, we had a discussion, but I totally agree with Christian, since there were so many changes and also the open core module, which will also impact our customers. It makes total sense, I think, to go to the 3.0 version. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I will jump now to the release notes. I mean, I guess it's obvious that everybody who wants to just have a short overview don't need to take the time to watch the video. So this is also some kind of small talk here and explaining some of the background stuff that we are doing and that you have done in the background and the team has done in the background. So it's probably best advised to enjoy a coffee now or a beer, pause the video and come back if you do not have anything of it. Christian is drinking water. Yeah. And starting with the release notes, I see one of the major changes next to the open core / application framework, which we will head over within the discussion, is that we have introduced IP version 6 provisioning for cable modems. Ole, was this a challenging step? And if so, why? And how is it solved within the version 3.0? So this is probably a big one.
Yes. So we first started, so our DHCP server, which we are regularly using, is the ISC DHCP server. And this also apparently supports IPv6, but the version we are using, since we are using CentOS 7, is quite outdated. And so we were trying this a little bit, but we had issues to get it running properly. And so then we decided to go over to KR, which is kind of the next generation ISC DHCP, if you would like. And so there we tried it, and this worked better. And so now we kind of have this parallel development, both having the ISC DHCP for IPv4 and KR with IPv6, which gave us also great opportunity just to get to know it with KR, just to get familiar with it and see how well it scales and what it can do and what it can't do. And so this is kind of maybe a little bit challenging to decide, okay, which option should go to which server, and running them in parallel. But I think we pulled it off quite nicely. And so now we can get some, to familiarize us with KR. And maybe at some point in time, we will even switch altogether over to KR also with the IPv4 provisioning. Next, kind of the problem we were having was that our lab didn't have IPv6 connection to the internet at all. And so since we're not really very close to our core network, we kind of had to jump through the hoops and through everything to actually get the IPv6 routing to our lab. But this was fixed as well. And maybe the last thing we were having issues was we not only give IPv6 IP addresses to our CPEs, but we also can do prefix delegation, of course, such that the CPE can on its own, on behalf of the devices behind the CPE, can also provide IPv6 addresses to them. And this prefix delegation didn't work at first. For some reason, we had some issues. And in the end, we saw that this was actually our Doxy space config file. We had set up a firewall, which was quite restricted. And so, basically the firewall didn't allow the DHCP v6 requests through, and that took us quite some time to figure that one out. But in the end, now it's working. And also in the analysis, you can see which IPv4, which IPv6 addresses are being leased to the devices and which prefixes are delegated. So I think it's pretty good now. But as I said, for now we only give IPv6 IP addresses out to the CPEs, since we figured that for the MTS and the IP or the modems themselves, it's not really important, since we are using private IP addresses for them anyway. So yeah, it's the current state of it.
So maybe one of the big changes between KEA and ISC DHCP, but Ole, you correct me if I'm wrong, is that ISC DHCP, which is the older version, you mentioned it, is really running out of config files. And my understanding from KEA is that it's really connected with a database like SQL. Is this already connected with a database, and how does this work out in the release?
The leases are already, like the configuration we have so far, it's also file-based still, but the leases are already in the database. So this is much more scalable and makes much more sense, especially if you think about scaling horizontally, since then you can share the database among all the DHCP servers and have them synchronized, that every DHCP server knows which leases are where and so on. So that makes absolutely sense. And we're also thinking about doing the configuration itself via the database at a later stage.
And I guess KEA has also some advantages when it comes to failover / redundancy, which from my understanding, ISC can just work with one backup instance, or am I wrong?
So you have two servers being able to run parallel. This works with ISC, but as far as I know, not more than two. and KR will improve the situation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. So a great step, and sounds like that in the future maybe everything will be switched to the KR system. Also, not just working with config files like in the good old days, config files in respect of DHCP. So instead, put everything into SQL, and then KR gets it in real time out of the SQL database and runs the configuration. Yeah, that's probably a big one, and great that it's part of version 3. Christian, when I jump through the release notes, there is the typical line, small and major bug fixes / performance improvements. Is there anything which came to your mind which was a huge step here?
So as you said in the beginning, we made a lot of changes to the system, and I looked through the system and through the commits, and nearly 2,000 of those 7,500 commits are bug fix commits. So we fixed a lot of things and made a lot of performance issue or improvements. And so to say, it's nothing standing out, but it's the sum of all the small changes that makes the system more stable and faster at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Ole, have you anything in your mind where you say this was a special fix, or Christian, is there anything? I mean, the sum. If not, then I will jump forward. But
so the first thing which comes to my mind is when it comes to the TR69 provisioning, which we also support next to or in parallel to Docs provisioning. We were having some issues with the Genie RTS server, which we're using for provisioning. There was kind of a reset loop or a factory reboot loop, which was kind of bugging us. And but we were able, working with the Genie RTS developer, to get this one ironed out. And so we are now on version 1.23, at least, or some commits above that, because he fixed it later on. And this actually fixed the bug. And this was actually biting one of our customers with some of its modems, who never went online because they were always factory resetted the whole time. And so I think this is one of the major bug fixes I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah, and then Christian, would you like to add, or?
I can add, but these are like a lot of, like I said, a lot of small things already. We did improve like the tree views when you have, like, for example, in the config files for the net element types, we made it like 30 times faster because there were some slow queries. Also, topography page got big improvements. Also in order of magnitude faster. So yeah, there are a lot of these changes that you really feel when using the system.
Yeah, I definitely agree to this. Now, when you mention it, I remember the time when this stuff was improved, and this, like you said, it's a lot of faster, especially when you're working with big networks and scaling through the maps and the topography. So this was a huge one. Yeah, and then I guess even a bigger topic is the update to PHP 7.3 and Laravel 6.0. First of all, I think we should a little bit mention or explain what Laravel is, and then, of course, what was the changes with respect to these two new versions of PHP and Laravel. So, Christian.
Yes, so I will start with PHP because this is our language that NMS Prime is mostly written in. So everything you see is HTML, but in the back end we use PHP, and the PHP version we previously used 7.1, but it got outdated and was end of life, and so we decided to upgrade to 7.3 as well, because one point is the speed. You get more speed for with the same system, so to say, and also security that you get with 7.3. We get security updates until December of this year. So there's an update already a bit in the pipeline for the next version, because this year, December, 7.3 is timing out. But yes, I think it's very important to be, especially in a network, with a network management system, to be up to date and be not prone to any open bugs or any security issues. So that's for PHP. And for Laravel, Laravel is a PHP framework, so like a toolkit to write faster and more performant pages. It is object-oriented model view controller, if this is something you know, and it makes us easy for us to implement all the features we like. And Laravel is now supporting semantic versioning, and that's why in last version we were on 5.5, but from now on the major versions will increase, so version 6, 7, 8 and so on. And we decided for 6.0 because it's a long-term support release, and it is also supported until end of next year. So we will update when it gets outdated, so that the customer always has the newest or the best experience. And yeah, we also have the benefit of like modern programming features and nice IDE integration and such stuff. So Laravel makes all this all the things, building websites and building web applications, pretty easy, and that's why we use it.
Yeah, I totally agree to this. It's an amazing framework, and whenever I jump into the project, which at this stage is not so often happening, but in the early days, I really enjoyed the framework and the founder Taylor, who has written it. So it's absolutely amazing. I've worked with some other frameworks prior to this some years ago, and it's really cool. And maybe to add here is that next to Laravel, that we have provide like our own, I would call like a sub framework, whoever we name it, which internally is, you said, the model view controller, which is our base model view controller, and where we inherit all the different classes from it, which speeds our development process. So this is actually amazing, and it's important, like you said, to be on the last version, on the last stable version in respect of security topics. So PHP upgrades and also framework upgrades are important, but often you cannot really see what's happening as an end user. But what in some aspects is often better is that the speed increasement, even with a PHP upgrade or a Laravel upgrade, can have dramatic changes. So this is quite good. And Ole, from your side, would you like to add something here on this?
Yeah, I mean, these were the examples or the reasons we switched over, but we also had some other issues. For example, Isinga, which we're also using in our background. And we are using the web front end of Isinga too. And this also required PHP 7.3. So there was a logical decision to move everything over to 7.3. And with CentOS, luckily it's quite simple to do this these days. They have the software collections, which we're also using for GeniusJS, for the Node.js, for a newer Node.js version. And so that went pretty smooth. So it's quite a nice ecosystem to work in.
And another consideration that comes to my mind is the third-party packages. So we use a lot of open source projects, and they mostly require a recent Laravel or a recent PHP version. So if you get behind, you come into a lot of restrictions of using like external packages, because the compatibility is not there anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And we as NMS Prime team, we are providing like RPMs for every application and for the major, for the base package, for the basic framework. And the compatibility is a big topic, especially since we are connecting different parts of the puzzle like Isinga. So this is kind of such a game. But that's great. Maybe one topic, Ole, which we have internal discussions since I guess the entire community was some kind of shocked with the CentOS 8 agenda. Is there already a decision how to go further here, or is it still an open question? How and how long is 7 supported actually? Is it 3 years from now?
I think it's 3 years from now.
24.
Yeah, I'm happy we didn't switch to. I mean, we were figuring out to switch to CentOS 8 already. I'm happy we didn't do this yet, because that would be really awful. Because I think CentOS 8 is only supported for one year or something like this.
Yes.
So that's really a quite disappointment. Hearing this coming from Red Hat. I mean, of course, Red Hat is still kind of providing something like this, but it seems you're kind of the beta tester of the releases from Red Hat. So the decision has not been made yet, but I heard in the news lately they have, I think it's called Alma Linux or something like this, and there is now a sponsor who is kind of trying to build a CentOS community again, and they also have financial backing. I think they are like, I'm not sure how much it was, but I think at least $1 million per year. They want to US dollars. They want to put into this infrastructure or into this community. So I mean, we have to see how long lasting this effort is. But this might be. We have to see, but this might be an alternative. Otherwise, yeah, I guess we have to switch to another distro or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, so far my understanding, but please correct me. Red Hat will support the commercial version will be available like ever before. So the other option will be just to switch CentOS to Red Hat commercial version.
Right, right. This is another possibility, of course.
So
and I heard that if you're running your own servers, you can also use their license for free, more or less. I think if you're an open source community, or if you're quite small. But this probably won't work for us because we're kind of reselling our service. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see into the financial. I don't know what the cost model would be, but this would be another alternative for sure.
Yeah, cool. Then I have a look to the next thing within the release notes, which says unified API response. Why is it important, Ole, and what's actually meant with this?
Right. So we do have an API which is REST JSON based, and so we have some of our customers already implemented it, but now we had a new customer, and while they were developing this, they noticed, and kind of in communication with us, we noticed that it's not exactly consistent when it comes to the answers which are coming back from the API. And so, for example, there's also not always a status code coming back from our API. So you don't actually know. Maybe you can know from the HTTP status codes if there was a server error or something like this, but you don't necessarily know if the request you sent was successfully managed or what. And you also didn't get the error messages which you get via the graphical user interface. This was not available. And furthermore, also some verbose statuses. For example, if you want to get the HF values of a modem, if you want to get a log file, a lease file of a modem, this was also not exposed via the API. And so, working with the customer together, we were kind of, everyone was sitting together. We were trying to reach a consensus, and in the end, we actually reached this one. So it was a collaborative work with all our customers. And so we implemented this way now, and I think it's much more stable now and much more, more pleasure to use. And also, for example, another issue we were facing was if an exception may happen for whatever reason, then you normally wouldn't get this exception, or you would get it in HTML code, but you are thinking of that you would get a JSON response. So that was also an issue we were having. And so all of this is now fixed, and we kind of updated our documentation. We updated the API, and since we all work together with our customers in this case, they also changed their systems accordingly. And so, of course, also the API documentation was changed by me, that it reflects the new version. And so now I'm pretty happy, and the customers are as well. So I think we made a big step in the API responses.
Yeah, and I think important to add to this is that many of our customers having their own CRM/BSS system and using NMS Prime as a kind of a slave in a master-slave consideration or master-slave system, where they push contract/billing data and whatsoever into the OSS, which is actually the NMS Prime. So they had CRM and then NMS Prime, and then all the different technologies and access domains like DOCSIS, FTTH, and DSL, for example. So this is, I guess, the main use case for the API to push contracts, modem, data, MAC addresses into the system, read data out of it. You mentioned like analysis pages, like HF values, FTTH values, optical powers, and whatsoever. And yeah, so my understanding is that the unified API means, like you said, that the response codes are always standardized in any request that you are making, and also if there are coming issues / errors back, that they are in a how should I say it, in a well-known and always the same kind of format, so that the master system actually can handle all of them. So this is an important step. And I've said in the introduction for version 3 that version 3 is a really big step. We've switched it to a business model which is an open platform concept with version 3. We've introduced already in the last version 2.5.4 the access concept across multiple access domains, so like DOCSIS, FTTH, DSL, and Wi-Fi type. So this was also a big release, which is in my mind. But with version 3, we've switched to an open core business model, which will allow us to have open source applications like the provisioning and VoIP provisioning, which are for the enablement of internet access very important, but also on the other hand have proprietary applications, and also to enable other stakeholders in the industry to add new applications and make the system grow in all kinds of directions that we can imagine. And of course, there could be any type of application that we could think of, like an open source application, proprietary applications, or whatsoever. So this is a call for participation to anybody who is looking the video, that the system is open source. The basic system is open source, and it's open for development and further improvements. Yeah, Ole, could you give in this respect an example of a proprietary application that came to your mind within the last version that we've supported?
Yeah, one of the examples of an enterprise app would be, for example, the SAT-Kabel app. SAT-Kabel is a German vendor who's providing hardware for DOCSIS networks or for cable networks. So, for example, they provide amplifiers, they provide taps, and something like this. And so we had a cooperation with them, and together we developed this app. It's since we were mentioning Laravel, we do all of this via the Laravel modules, which enables us to easily develop a new module, turn it off, turn it on demand as the customer wishes. And so the idea about this application is that we can monitor. So the SAT-Kabel, we also have kind of a monitoring system where you can check out the upstream channel and see in an analog fashion or in a video signal, basically how the signal to noise ratio is for the various frequencies, and if you have some impulse noises or whatnot. And so we included this directly into the browser, so you don't need a separate program for it. You can see the video stream directly in the browser, because it's motion JPEG encoded, and this can be directly decoded by the browser itself. And furthermore, you can also switch. So for example, if you have a lot of clusters and you want to switch from the video signal from one cluster to another, this is also easily possible from within the browser. And furthermore, what you can also do is you can control basically every amplifier and every tap in your cable plant. These are manageable system, but they are not manageable via IP or SNMP. What they do is they have kind of their own proprietary way of signaling or communicating with the taps and with the amplifiers. And so you kind of have to have a gateway, and we talk to this gateway, and then the gateway is talking to the amplifier or the tap. And so you basically, if you look at one of your plant, you see all the tabs, you see all the amplifiers. Then you can go to one tab and then say, for example, please switch off this output of the tab. And then so you can in a very fine-grained manner, you can say, okay, I want to disable this customer because maybe he didn't pay his bill for a couple of months. And so I would like to basically block him from the cable plant. And this way you can not only block him from DOCSIS, what you can do right away with NMS Prime, you simply don't give him DHCP or IP addresses anymore, but you can also block him from cable TV, for example. And so I think this is a great solution for ISPs. And that's why we collaborated to offer this as a proprietary app for our customers.
Yeah, and the amplifiers and tabs that you were mentioning are manageable devices. So from my understanding, so I assume that our system sends SNMP requests back and forth to them to block/enable access, and then we integrated it into all the different kind of views.
Right. So we're talking to the gateway via SNMP, or I think even via HTTP, and then the gateway on our behalf will talk this proprietary app to the tabs into the amplifier.
And the topic that you were mentioning in respect to the how did you call it, the screen that you implemented into NMS Prime is like the upstream noise picture, where you see the signal to noise ratio between ingress and the real signal which is transmitted. And I mean, to all the cable operators, it's I guess it's known that for every cluster you could have, it's not that everybody uses this kind of technology, but many operators using it, that they can some kind analyze their return path for each cluster in respect to seeing which kind of signal to noise ratio I have. Do I see any trouble coming in my cable plant at this cluster? And my understanding was that with this solution, we now can directly integrate it in NMS Prime to see these kind of pictures in NMS Prime, and then also have the connection between all the different, how should I call it, different layers, like which CMTS channels are connected from upstream, downstream, yalla, and so back and so forth. And then maybe also like the topography, which is connected to this kind of cluster, and having like a full picture of all the interconnections that are happening here. So this is probably a big step, and saves also a lot of what maybe
I think it's a great feature, since sometimes if you just look at the SNR values from the CMTS or from your modems, you don't necessarily get to know, because they are kind of they're averaging over a lot of packets, and so you don't necessarily see, for example, impulse noise if you just have maybe a baby phone which is all just sending every, I don't know, 5 seconds or whatnot, or maybe your temperature sensor or something like this. And then you always have outages, but you never see them on the SNR figures because they are averaged over a long time. And so having such a video signal, which is very, it has a high temporal resolution, is a very important thing, I would say. And also this in comparison or in conjunction with the tap controlling. If you have, for example, if you see a lot of noise in your plant in a certain cluster, you can always go to a certain tap, and just maybe for I don't know, for a second or two, you can turn it off if you really don't know where it's coming from. And then you see if it's going away, is it not going away? And then you simply go along the plant. And I think this is a huge improvement. You don't have to get your field technicians out in the field and unplug cables and stuff, but you can do it even from your home office if you would like. So with a coffee in your hand, so it's,
or even from holiday, from vacation, and this is amazing. And this is probably also a topic where AI could come into the door sooner or later, in respect to automatically figure out if our subtrees making noise, and trying to switch off and see from which direction noise comes from. So Christian, you've investigated a lot in AI/machine learning. Is there anything that you want to add here?
Yeah, I think we have already we are thinking about using those pictures from the upstream that we receive with the package Ola just mentioned, to make a image analysis and get information from these images to better detect any impairments. And there are certain other values we are monitoring and watching closely to better understand when an issue is happening, and also have an understanding already before an issue pops up, if there are like parameters changing, and to identify these parameters and to get these information to the network operator to have a head start, so to say, for fixing the network and minimizing downtimes.
Yeah, and I would like to add that my concept in the beginning of the system was really simple, because I noticed that many operators are using a lot of different systems, like a monitoring system, provisioning system, whatsoever, and maybe a HFC system to make some kind of these settings within their cable plant. But you can imagine if all the informations are flying around in your company, and there's one department which is responsible for this, and there's this guy who is responsible for the next system, that if it's all flying around in the company, the information, that it's very tough to come to the next level of automation with these decentralized applications. And so the idea in the beginning was really trying to combine all these great tools that are available, especially in the open source environment. We all know Cacti, Isinca, and these tools, and we've talked about ISC, DHCP, and try to connect them into one system, having one centralized database. And then if you have everything together in all the data together in one instance, which is of course for bigger operators in a failover scenario redundant. But if you have all these data together, then you can do a lot of crazy things when it comes to automation / AI. And there's probably a big playground here, especially since we now with version 3.0 establish the marketplace and the application framework, so that new ideas, new applications could be easily developed within the next weeks and months to come. So Ola, you also mentioned that, or we mentioned that we are using Laravel as a framework, and you said that we use the Laravel modules application to try to connect so our application is Laravel modules in the background. And then we also talked a little bit about module view controller, but I don't want to jump too much into a coding language. But the cool thing is that having all these kind of pieces together in one system, that if I add a new application / Laravel module, then I have a basic setting of new modules, view controllers, where I can really quickly integrate them into our system. And this is probably something which I was always missing in the market. And feel free, both of you, to add. And
we're basically planning on I mean, for now, sometimes you have to, like, you do this over the command line, you enable, you disable modules. This will be of course possible via the App Store, via the web GUI, where you can directly enable, disable it. And of course, for the enterprise modules, we have some sort of mechanism of making sure that actually only subscribers will be able to add them and to disable them, which we are currently employing or looking into it. And so, yeah, I mean, basically, you enable the module, and then some kind of database migrations needs to be running, such that you get all the tables which are needed for the various modules, and and you're good to go. So that's a really cool and easy and intuitive system.
And to add maybe to the API we talked just about, there are like classes in place that help you to guide to keep our coding standard for example, the API response is a certain class and a certain method. And if you're using this method according to documentation, it's very easy to use, and you are safe to stay inside our coding guidelines and to keep a level of coding standard or for the application to have like a good integration with our application. So it's easy to extend and modify, and also easy to do maintenance or to maintain.
Yeah, we also have some kind of continuous integration already, for example, with Style CI. So if our partners are working with us on our Git repo and they push some new commits on their branches, then we have the Style CI running in the background, and it's checking for code errors or for formatting errors. So if you don't adhere to our coding style, then this is being reported, and Style CI is telling you, okay, I created a patch for you, so that you can that your code is according to our style, and then you can either apply it directly or and then you can put a new commit on it, or you simply change your commit and force push it. So I mean, we also have the possibility to do this automatically by Style CI, but we were figuring out it's probably better to do it supervised, so that Style CI is just telling you, such that you can learn the new style and don't make these mistakes all over again.
Yeah, and what I also absolutely like about the idea of this kind of marketplace concept is that of course we do not want to jump too much into detail about programming, object-oriented programming, but since we have with Laravel and our own base model view controller, a kind of major or basic classes which all the other modules are inheriting. So it's super fast to just say, okay, I want to add a new data table which is connected to other tables. Then I want to have it in the basic or in the normal view integrated into our admin panel. How should I name it? So this is probably super cool and super fast, and could be deployed very easily, because it's just like not so much digging down into how should I figure this out. It's just, okay, how is it made in these kind of applications, and then we can super quickly go ahead and develop new applications and roll them out. And like we said, the play is actually open for new innovations, especially in respect of network automation, which is a really big topic. And I think like in the history, we see many of the proprietary systems which are so huge and so complex and probably not open for these kind of innovations, which is from my belief, blocking the industry and costing a lot of money to the operators. And with such a system, all these stakeholders, not just only companies like you mentioned, Satkabel or hardware vendors can jump into the system, but also like operators who have a small or a bigger development team can have a look at what we are doing and integrate their ideas into the system and work together with us in a corporate fashion. So this is great, and probably a big step, which is also visible in the graphical user interface, that there has been a lot of changes in respect of the marketplace topic. Ole, you spoke about proprietary applications. What could you name some of the major new applications with version 3.0 which came to your mind, which are astonishing?
So I guess the most prominent would be the detect and the workforce module. I don't know. Maybe if I guess Christian can talk about it a little bit more. I would just would like to tell how this works, like the open source and the closed source repositories together. Maybe just a small introduction into this. And so basically, so if we have partners from the outside world who want to communicate or collaborate with us and put some new functionality in there, they get access. So we have two repositories. We have first a private one, which only the developers of NMS Prime and possibly external partners have access to. And this is a monorepo. So basically everything is in there. And so we don't, because there's always kind of the discussion, should we use just only one big repo or smaller ones, which are distributed? And we also had this discussion, but in the end, we came to the conclusion that we should probably use the monorepo because it's much less overhead to begin with. And also, if you just look, I just had a look actually, and Wikipedia is saying that even also the major companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and so on, they're all using still monorepos. And
Even
so I think
GNOME project is, I guess, or was a long time in the one monorepo.
So I think this is, I mean, it makes sense for us still, I think. And so so we have our private Git repo, which only we have access to. And then at regular intervals, we have a migration script. And this is basically checking out our private repo. And then we are running Git filter repo on top of it. So we're basically filtering out all the commits which touch the proprietary apps. And so we basically, we extract these commits or change them accordingly. And then this is pushed onto our community repo. One exception for the proprietary modules is the language files. They are also pushed onto the public repo, since we also have this crowd-in functionality where people from the outside world can help us translate also the proprietary modules if they would like to.
Yeah, I guess adding here the translation with crowd-in is really it's a really great tool. And the idea is that you can adapt language files or the language of any system without being a coder, so that you have just a web browser and you see, okay, this is the English, these are the 10,000 English words that are in the system, and I want to translate it into, you name it, Chinese or whatever language, and then you can just type in and it's automatically creating a pull request in GitHub against our development branch, and then we can just simply say, okay, we have a short look over it. And so we can easily adapt the NMS Prime system to any language. It's also possible within Crowdin, which is amazing, to hire external translators, which is, by the way, not expensive. So if anybody is interested in using the system in any what kind of language, it's probably like, I don't know, $1,000 or $2,000 to have a basic translation, a basic good translation. If any more stuff is required, then everybody can do hands-on here, which is great. We've talked about the proprietary modules, and Ole, you shoot the link to Christian in respect to Detect and the workforce module. So Christian, what comes to your mind?
We've done quite intensive developing in the recent year for these Prime modules or enterprise modules, and the first thing is the Detect module, which inherits the trouble dashboard that is new in version 3. It shows issues inside your system. It gives a system overview. You directly see how many modems and how many net elements are online and offline. Are every services running properly? And inside the trouble dashboard, you see your impaired net elements or your impaired elements and how many modems are affected, so that you get a quick overview and can look at a glance where your system is burning. And if the trouble dashboard is empty, you're sure that the system is correctly running. And so this is like for a quick overview. And in this in this aspect, we also enhanced the topography view as we introduced a history table to see what are the issues in the past, and to see, okay, is this a reoccurring problem, or is there something that is drifts only with temperature or with other parameters. So there's like a table and a slider that will show you the state of the different modems and net elements for the last 4 weeks, I think. So that you can make if you want, you can dive deep down and make a really intensive analysis on your problems and can find issues in your plant.
Yeah, if I may chime in real quick, the cool part about the detect the trouble dashboard, in my opinion, is that you have this correlation feature in there. So, for example, if you see that the whole tree has an outage, you don't see every part of the tree being shown on the dashboard, but you only see the root cause. So so you don't have to send a field technician to this and this and this and this part when actually the issue is on the very top. And so this is one thing we also put a lot of work into, and I think this is
went out really well. Yes. So the only top part or the topmost part is shown, and then you can see, okay, this especially in HFC networks where you have a tree structure, it is really helpful to see, okay, which is the topmost element that is not working, or which is the element that is still working, and you can then start your search for the issue on that point, and you can save a lot of time through this.
Yeah, definitely. And I would jump one step back. What you mentioned is also really amazing, that we can say NMS Prime is a system which interconnects all the different access domains / technologies like DOCSIS, FTTH, DSL, and what we mentioned. And based on these kind of basic layer on top, we can provide all these kind of applications. So it's not that we say we have a monitoring system which is just connected with DOCSIS. So it actually can or is interconnected with all the kind of different access domains, technologies. And also these kind of monitoring systems, detect system, workforce module is out of the box connected, because we abstract all these kind of access domains within it, and the applications can super quickly just interconnect with the different domains, which is a part where in the back in the history, the operators need to figure this out by themselves. Like they have a provisioning system for DOCSIS, then they have whatever, and then they have a cloud where everything comes together, and then they need to figure out, okay, if this is a call from here, then we need to go to this API and whatsoever. So this is probably a big cost center for many operators to figure this kind of stuff out. And with these kind of abstraction built into an open source platform, this is really a huge benefit and a big cost saver. So being that said, I don't want to jump more into the history table. You name it, that it's a great feature in respect. What I like about it is that you can, depending on all the different views that you want to look into your system, maybe I want to see just where are the customers in this area, what is about this, then I can click on the bubbles and so back and so forth. And it's always like a really transparent view, always the same. And we can scroll back and see, have there been outages? So this is definitely great. And the interconnection we've talked about, I've talked about, and the correlation feature is also amazing. It's a huge cost saver for the operators if there are outages which are detected in the background with a great algorithm. Where are the root cause of the outage? It saves a lot of time if you do not have like 100 outage messages, but instead have the 2 or 3 which are the biggest ones, and then the system automatically prioritize them based on the number of affected modems. But like I said, not just the modems are abstracted through all the different access technologies. So your field tags can automatically be routed to these kind of issues prioritized. And we've also introduced a kind of app system here that the field tags can use, and are directly connected to the workforce application. So this is definitely great. I have a short look on my watch, so I guess we are already, I don't know, 1 hour or even a little bit longer in there. So I will probably try to come to the end within the next minutes. Here I see that we've added the PNM heat map. Who wants to speak anything about this? And then I will come to my final questions to you.
Yeah, so PNM, as as you know, as most of the customers already know as well, this is based on pre-equalization. So the modem in conjunction or working with the CMTS, they can kind of pre-distort their signal, and then to counter the distortion which is being done by the cable plant. And so based on this, so we have basically a digital filter in them, and they kind of pre-distort what they're sending. And the cool thing about this, and what Cable Labs was kind of inventing or spearheading, was that they are actually now using this pre-equalization constant to see how well the plant is doing and how much the modem has to do in order to pre-distort, and that is how much the distortion is being done by the channel. And so we are querying this via SNMP. So we have our modem poller, which was basically done by Christian and a little bit with my help. And so we have a very scalable modem poller here. So we can also pull 6-digit numbers of modems without a big issue if you have the server for it. And so we are querying this via the poller, and then we analyze these coefficients using a FFT. Which again, like the modem poller, is implemented in C, because we have a lot of modems and we want to do this often to get the most recent PNM data. And so, and based on this FFT, like a Fourier transform, we can analyze this data further, and we can see how much is the impairment when it comes to this micro or this reflections, and also what's the highest probability, or how far is this issue from the modem. And so these two information, the impairment, like how much impairment is and how far away it is, we can draw a map, and there you have all the modems on your map, and you draw circles around the modems. So and the worse the issue is, the more, or the hotter it will be on the heat map. And then you have a lot of circles, and if they are intersecting, there will be even hotter. And based on this, if you don't know exactly how your cable plant is going along, that's why we do the radius functionality. And probably somewhere in the intersection, you will have an issue where this reflection is going on. And yeah, and besides having this map, we also on all our modem analysis pages, we also show the main PNM figures, which can help the provider as well to fix some issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. I think PNM is really a great feature, and you mentioned the FFT. I always need to think on my early days studying, because FFT was probably like for both of you from semester. I'm not quite sure if it was from semester 1 till the end, was always like FFT and Fourier transformation. So yeah, it's really a cool feature, and also you name it, that our monitoring system can monitor whatever digits of number. We only need to add more silicon to the table, and then it scales up. So this is definitely great, and seeing the heat map and where the interconnections or the highest chance, the highest density for a possible outage is, helps a lot. So my last question to both of you is: are there any other changes that you would like to name? And then I will check out my floor. What if the bed is once again sitting near my watch?
Sure. I think Ola already mentioned it. The monitoring solution. So our own SNMP polar is quite a big feature, and it helped us to scale our app pretty well. So this is also new in version 3.0, that your all the SNMP values are queried with the new poller, and it saves a lot of resources, and is a lot of is as Ole mentioned already, is a lot faster than the previous method. So yeah, no problem to handle 1 million or more devices with this. So this is I think a killer feature that needs to be mentioned at last.
Yeah, Ole, from your side.
Yeah, for my side, it's not such killer features, but what just comes to my mind is, for example, we also have a graphical user interface now for the TR69 provisioning. This also helps the customers quite a bit. I mean, beforehand we had to work with the APIs, and it was a little bit tedious. And if you're not a programmer, it's a little bit difficult to work with this, especially if you have a new device and you want to get this running and set some parameters. So that's cool. And also, for example, in the realm of DOCSIS, so far we only provided the firmware downloads via TFTP, and now this is also possible via HTTP. Especially since now the firmwares are getting really big, like 70, 80, 90 megabytes. Beforehand they were like 5 to 10 megabytes, I remember. But since I guess the graphical user interfaces and the systems are getting more and more complex, the firmwares are getting as well. And with HTTP download, it's much quicker as compared to TFTP. And so this was another small feature we added for 3.0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. And I just want to add that what is also important, I guess, to many customers is that DOCSIS 3.1 monitoring, real-time monitoring is part of the system. And my last note here is drag and drop for config files, which actually makes setting up new systems and also importing from other paths, adding config files to the NMS Prime system a lot easier. So yeah, great to talk to you. We are here in Germany. It's Friday, 9th April, 4:30 p.m. So actually a beer time for most German now, probably, or getting soon to beer time. And yeah, great to talk to you. And we will see you within the next one of the next podcasts, maybe to a next release notes. So thanks everybody to joining. That was Ole Ernst, our CTO, Christian Schramm, one of our co-developers, and
thank
me,
you as well,
your host.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.